A lot of people seem to have an issue with this whole 50-year mortgage thing. We might as well talk about it. I personally don't think I have an issue with it. And I think it has to do with, one, the fact that I'm actually in this industry, mortgage loan officer, and just understanding historically the nature of how these things kind of evolve and come about in the first place. So I got some pros and cons written down. I got some other questions that you might want to ask yourself to see if it's something that might benefit you or even see as something worthwhile. So first things first, let's start here. This was a concept introduced by President Trump. This isn't something that we know for a fact is going into place. We do know for a fact that they're going to have to go through the rigmarole of recreating the laws and the structure through Dodd-Frank to allow for a 50-year mortgage. It's not like you can just say, hey, we got 50-year mortgage available. Also, you also have to have your lending institutions who give out loans, because the government doesn't give out loans, they back loans. But you have to have your lending institutions be willing to administer these loans to offer the people. So there's a number of steps we need to get to before there's even availability to a 50-year mortgage. Now let's start with some pros, right? And I'm not talking about your professional athletes. I'm talking about the benefits of maybe doing something like this, a 50-year mortgage, right? The first thing I'm thinking about is, naturally so, lower payment. I'm pretty sure that's what they were thinking also when they rolled this concept out. Another thing they were probably thinking about is going to benefit all the real estate professionals that I know, more buyers in the market. The more buyers we have out there, the more deals we're doing, the more transactions we're doing, the more sellers can sell their homes, so on and so forth. You know, it keeps the economy rolling. If people buy homes, people are happy, people are satisfied. So another thing I'm thinking about that maybe hasn't been mentioned was purchasing power. So now the same individual who could only afford a home that was maybe $225 and not find something within their price range can now maybe afford with a 50-year mortgage a home that's $275, $285, and now be able to find something that they were looking for and benefit their family also. So, I mean, that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, a few cons, and I'm not talking about escaped prison felons. You know what I mean? I'm talking about some things that probably wouldn't benefit too many people at all. One of those things, higher interest rates. Yeah, I said higher interest rates. If you notice, a 50-year loan for a mortgage has a lower interest rate than a 30-year loan. So what do you think will happen once you introduce a 50-year loan? Higher interest rates, because there is more risk associated with you taking more time to pay money back. So therefore, we're likely going to see higher rates on the 50-year side than we see on the 30-year side, just like we see a 30-year have a higher rate than a 15-year. So higher rates. Here's the big one that everybody keeps talking about, the more interest over time. This is because amortization. Amortization is a fancy way of saying to die slowly. It's an Italian word, Greek, maybe French. It's not an English word. But long story short, it still means to die slowly, to kill some over time. Literally, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Or in this instance, 360 paper cuts if it's 30-year loan. So with that, because of the amortization, because interest is stacked up front per se, you're taking longer to pay off your home, and i.e. paying more interest. And because you're taking longer to pay off your home, and paying more interest up front versus getting to the principal, guess what you have? Less equity build up. So this is the real thing. At the end of the day, does it really matter if they introduce a 50-year mortgage loan option? I mean, does it? And let me tell you why I have that question. I imagine a lot of the industry professionals and individuals who are expressing their discontent with the idea of 50-year mortgage, there were similar individuals back in the 1940s, 1950s, when the 30-year mortgage was introduced. Why the heck would I take out a 30-year loan on my home? That sounds asinine. It's completely foolish. And now, in today's time, the 30-year mortgage is the standard. As a matter of fact, according to Freddie Mac, our good friend Freddie, approximately 90% of home purchase has a 30-year mortgage on it. So these same individuals who are hooping and hollering, complaining about the idea of a 50-year mortgage back in 1948, 1950s, whenever it was introduced back then during the Great Depression, we have now come to a standard where 30 years is the average. Furthermore, it, much like anything else relative to mortgage, whether it be programs, whether it be interest rates, closing costs, whatever, is just information and tools. Tools and information. I'll say it backwards, just in case you missed it. What I mean by that is you still have the option to get a 30-year mortgage, Heck, you had an option to get a 15-year mortgage, a 20, a 25, a 10. I mean, you count it. You pick your number. You don't have to get a 30-year mortgage if you don't want to. You don't have to get a 50-year mortgage if you don't want to. People traditionally choose these options because it gives them the highest purchasing power. It gives them the option at a lower payment. And so that's why people typically purchase using a longer term. It just is what it is. And so people will still have the option to get something shorter if they don't like the idea of 50 and kind of keep things pushing. By all means, go to get your home. Congratulations, you're not a homeowner. And my last reason of why it may not even matter. On average, the average person owns their home from anywhere 8 to 12 years. As a matter of fact, there's even something called a 5-year rule. So on average, people purchase a home with the mindset, I'm going to own this home for 5 years. So what difference does it make if my loan is 30, 15, 50? You pick a number. What difference does it make? I'm not going to be here for the entirety of that time anyway. Now, you might go back to the cons, like I was just talking about, and say that, oh, well, if I'm selling my home that quick, it's less likely that I have less equity during that time, and therefore won't have enough to transfer to the new home I buy, so on and so forth. But it is what it is. You have the option to pick whatever term you want to, as long as you qualify for it, and kind of just keep it pushing, keep on going along with about your business, you know? And if that wasn't enough information, I am pretty sure, especially during these times, most individuals who offer a 50-year term, just like what they offer with a 30-year term, there's no prepayment penalty, which means you can pay this thing off as fast as you want to. And so all this thought leads me to my next and final question. What are they supposed to do? What are we supposed to do? According to the National Association of Realtors, the average age of a home buyer in 2025 is 40. That's 40. I'll say it directly into the microphone just in case you couldn't hear it. In 2024, it was 38. In 2020, it was 33. You see where this is going? What are they supposed to do? It's getting more and more difficult to purchase a home, and it's very discouraging for an individual fresh out of college who hasn't even entered their career yet to think, man, I got 20 more years, 18 more years before I can even think about owning a home. What are these people supposed to do? The argument is they can just lower interest rates. You're absolutely correct. They can just lower interest rates. Perfectly fine. But you know what happened last time they lowered interest rates back in 2020? Home prices shot up through the roof. And they are where they are now. So the only other option will be to lower home evaluations. And I assure you, people do not want to do that. People do not want to give up their equity in their home so that people can buy their home. They don't want to do that. We're not seeing any type of bubble. We're not seeing any type of chances of a crash per se. The market is correcting. It's been correcting for the past 6 months to a year, what have you. Maybe it'll keep correcting. Well, homes won't value at as high as a clip as they have been before. Nevertheless, we're not seeing homes fall off a cliff relative to home prices. They are still appraising for the value that people are selling it for. And so what else are people supposed to do to help encourage home ownership? And so, you know what? I'm thankful that they even considering even trying anything, at least talking about it, because it was going to be an issue, and it continues to be an issue going forward with affordability. And so it's great that regardless of your political stance, that they're having a conversation about what can we do to make homes more affordable for people, because what we have right now isn't sustainable, isn't working. So tell me what you think. Go in the comment section, throw tomatoes at me, tomato, you know what I mean? About my opinion, you know, what have you. So yeah, talk to y'all soon.